Leo Tunapika Oxtail Ragu. Leo Tunapika. Leo Tunapika. Leo Tunapika. Hi, I'm Gatweri. Welcome to my channel. I share easy and delicious recipes for the everyday curious cook. In today's episode, we're going to make a delicious oxtail ragu. So we'll start by defining a few terms. So what is a ragu? A ragu is a meat-based sauce that's cooked low and slow until it's all tender and delicious. So for this sauce today, I'm using oxtail, which is the tail of an ox. So it's a cut of meat that needs to be cooked for long so that it can be tender. So for this sauce today, I'm going to use my NutriCook, which is an electric pressure cooker. Alternatively, you can use a manual pressure cooker. If you don't have any of the two, you can use a Dutch oven or a very heavy casserole and cook it on the stove top low and slow, but it will take much longer, maybe think 4 to 5 hours, but very low and slow. Or you put it in the oven, in your Dutch oven. To start us off, we are going to go through the ingredients, but before I get to that, the method that we are using, and it's essentially used for these low and slow methods, is braising. So braising is a technique of cooking where you start by browning your meat. So we'll season the meat, then brown it in a little fat, and then we take that browned meat and we put it in a base of sorts. Our base will have some tomato paste, you can use also red wine, I'll use chicken stock, and then now the base will have some liquid which will be our braising liquid that will cook our meat low and slow. And in our case, a bit faster since we're using the electric pressure cooker. So let's get started. For the ingredients, we have our oxtail, as you can see, looks very beautiful. So that's that. And then we have salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt, some black pepper, tomato paste, a chicken cube. We're going to dissolve it in some hot water. Our aromatics, I'm using bay leaves, rosemary, thyme, and then some onion, garlic, and ginger. To start us off, we are going to start to heat up our pressure cooker. This pressure cooker that I use, the NutriCook, you go to the saute function. Once you put the saute function, it's on, add your oil. You want your oil to heat up, so that's the oil that you'll use to saute the oxtail. In the meantime, I'm seasoning my oxtail with salt and black pepper. Make sure you season all sides. As that is going and the oil is heating up, I'm going to prep the other ingredients. So I'm going to cut the onions, prepare the ginger and the garlic, and then we'll go to the next. Our oil is hot, as you can see. It even reads there hot. So now we'll start searing our meat. That's the sound you want to hear, the sizzle. I don't want to crowd my pressure cooker lest they start to steam as opposed to browning. So that's something you should look out for. You want it to have a beautifully browned, almost evenly all the sides, so try your best not to crowd. And sometimes if you want to save time, maybe you can use a larger pan, sear them on a pan, then transfer, though you'll need to scrape off the good bits from the pan to add to your pressure cooker, because that's where the flavor is with all the intensity. As that is going, I'm going to dissolve my chicken cube into this hot water. This is about 2 cups, or about 2 cups, slightly under half a liter. Give it a stir. This is what we'll use to form our braising liquid. Just set that aside. I've decided to make a bouquet garni. So it's just a bouquet of aromatics. Anyway, so here you have I have the bay leaves, the rosemary, the thyme, and then I have some kitchen twine, and then I'm going to tie it such that even when it comes to removing, it will be easy to remove from the liquid. So just tying it with some twine. Here's my bouquet garni. As you can see, beautifully seared, so remove and set aside so that we sear the remaining pieces. All our oxtail has been seared, beautifully brown, so remove that from the pot. You see all this beautiful goodness stuck at the bottom of the pan? That's called the fond. Has so much flavor. So now we are going to go in with our onions. In case you feel like the oil is little, you can just add a little more to get the onions going. In goes the onions. Here at this stage, you can work with many other aromatics. You can do the Holy Trinity or the Mirepoix. You can add onions, carrots, and celery at the same time. I don't have any, and as I've said, this is a very simple oxtail ragu, so I'm using the things that I have on hand, and yeah. I've cooked the onions for about 2 to 4 minutes. Then I'm going in with my garlic and ginger. This will just cook for about 30 seconds until the garlic is fragrant. So when it just starts releasing the aroma, you know it's done. My garlic is already aromatic. Then now I add my tomato paste. This is a tablespoon of tomato paste. At this juncture, I also add Worcestershire sauce, but mine is over. I'm yet to restock. So if you have some Worcestershire sauce, or what's your sister sauce, you can add it in. Just give it a start to cook it. Then now we are getting to another crucial part when it comes to braising. We need to deglaze. That means to remove, you see this beautiful fond? Here you can deglaze either with stock, like what I'm going to do, or you use wine. You can use a dry red wine for this. So just a little. Then you use your wooden spoon to scrape the bottom of the pan. So make sure you scrape and remove everything that's stuck to the bottom, because one other thing that you need to consider when you're cooking with a pressure cooker, you don't want any burnt bit on the surface of the pot, because that could lead to your food burning. So make sure there's nothing stuck there. And this is why I also like that mine is a stainless steel pot. I don't have to worry so much. Even if I use great force with my wooden spoon, the pan will not be damaged in any shape or form. Though I think non-stick, it doesn't stick, so it doesn't matter. Nice, as you can see. Yeah, even though it's fogged up my camera, all that good fond has been released from the bottom of the pan. So now we'll add in our seared oxtail like that. Then our bouquet garni, throw it in, then add the rest of the stock. So with braising, you don't want the liquid to cover the meat. It's just enough to get it cooking. I think that feels decent for me. Yeah, I was working with about 450 ml of chicken stock, slightly under half a liter. Haven't used all of it. This seems fine to me. So at this stage, this is where we let our pressure cooker do the job. I want to highlight that when you're cooking with a pressure cooker, just know, since it's closed off, whatever amount of liquid you put is the amount of liquid you'll have at the end. So that's why you see we haven't used a lot. Again, we're following the rules of grazing, so we're not using a lot of liquid. Now we'll cover our pressure cooker. So make sure the knob here, we'll take it to sealing since we want to pressure cook. See, that means we've closed it beautifully. Now we were using the saute function, now we need to use the pressure cook function. So I'll take it to the pressure cook function, then put my timer. I want to cook it for 45 minutes. Luckily my timer is already at 45 because I'd braised something else not so long ago. And then that's it. So now the pressure cooker does the work and we can sit back, relax, and wait for our oxtail to cook. As you can see, my pressure cooker has come to pressure, so meaning the liquid inside has gone past the boiling point, so the steam and all that stuff, and that's when my timer has gone on. So now, as you can see, we'll wait for 44 minutes, that's what's left. And then once the 45 minutes are done, what we're going to do natural release for about 15 minutes, and if there's any pressure left, we'll now do it manually. And I'll talk about that when we get to that stage, but yes. Now the timer has gone off, so now we'll start the 15 minutes of natural release. Now that the 15 minutes of natural release are over, that's such a tongue twister, so we're going to manually release the rest of the pressure. As you can see, the metallic thing hasn't dropped, so once it drops, you know all the pressure has been released and it's safe for you to open the pressure cooker. So this is what I'm going to do to help it release further. Since it had done it for about 15 minutes, you see, it was going to take basically seconds. So that's what we are waiting, and then we are waiting for the valve to drop. I don't know whether you've had that drop, but it's dropped. So now we can open our pressure cooker, and the moment of truth to check whether our meat is tender. So there's our meat. Ooh, look, just by using a fork, oh my goodie, it's falling in. So now I'm going to remove all the oxtail pieces from our liquid. I'll remove the bouquet garni, that one we'll discard, and then we'll get to shredding our meat. If our sauce needs any thickening, we'll thicken it, and it's as good as done. Now the next part is shredding the meat, removing it from the bones. See, it's very tender, so it's working very easily. Actually, the drawback here is that the meat is hot. So I'll do this for all the meat, then we'll incorporate it with our sauce. Yeah, hot stuff. All the meat has been shredded from the bones, and here are the bones. So what you can do with these bones is, since they're still very intact, you can use them to make bone broth. I'm going to save them, then I'll make bone broth. I'll just throw onions, maybe I'll get celery and some herbs, and then I'll make bone broth with this. So now we're going to combine this with our sauce. So back to our pressure cooker. I've also tasted for seasoning so that I can adjust. As you noted, I didn't add any salt per se to the liquid because I had salted, I'd seasoned the oxtail, and then the chicken cube we had, the one I used, also has high sodium levels, so I didn't add any salt. So I reserve this for the very end once the food is done, and then I give it a taste, and then if it needs more salt or pepper, that's when I adjust accordingly. From what I've tasted, everything feels very balanced. It's very meaty, it's very hearty. It's what you would expect from a ragu. So what we are waiting for now is for it to thicken, Yeah. So there are usually two ways that you can thicken your sauce. One is using cornstarch, the other one is using a bar manier. I'll explain that. So with cornstarch, what you do, you take equal parts cornstarch and water. So 1 tablespoon cornstarch, 1 tablespoon water. Make a slurry, just cold water. Make a slurry and then you pour it into your sauce. Stir, cook it for a minute or so, and it does a beautiful job. Thickens the sauce, makes it look very glossy. The other option is using this bar manier. That's a French word, so it's needed butter. You need butter with flour. So you take butter, equal parts butter to flour, so 1 to 1. Then, like what I'm showing here, we mix it together. I've used the back of a spoon to mix everything together, and then this is what we'll use to thicken our sauce. So we'll just put it in our simmering ragu and then give it a stir, allow it to cook, so that we want to cook off the raw flour taste, and then we should be done. I've added the leftover chicken stock, still simmering. You can see it has reduced but hasn't per se thickened so much. So let's add a bit of our bar manier, and then we give that a stir. We see how that goes. So as the butter melts, the flour is incorporated, then it cooks off the flour taste. We don't want it to be so thick, since we want it to have a sauce, and yeah, we are serving it with pasta. And with that, I've turned off my pressure cooker. I'm going to add some freshness with some freshly chopped parsley on top. And here, if you have cheese like Parmesan, or maybe sometimes I usually end up having Gouda, I grate over the meal when I serve. Unfortunately, I don't have any cheese at the moment, so we'll just work with the fresh parsley, and I'm going to show you how I serve this oxtail ragu. For the leftover bar manier, you can just form it into a ball and then you put it in the freezer, and then anytime you want to thicken a sauce, just slice off a bit, add it to whatever sauce you want to thicken, and you're good to go. Before I serve, I want to mention, you see that part where I put back the shredded meat into the sauce? Another way, if you are serving the meal immediately, mine I'm not serving it immediately, so there's no need for me to do this, but if you are serving the meal immediately, you add your pasta inside there. So as the sauce simmers, the pasta cooks and you mix with the meat, so it's mixed all together. But now, since I'm serving the food much later, if I cook together like this, the pasta will completely overcook and it will not be pleasant to eat. So now I'm just going to serve the ragu and some little pasta that I've just cooked on the side, just for this. Look at that, looks so good. Not a lot. The pasta, to give you a general idea of how it looks, how it would look, just mix it together. And I like to use pasta like this. I think this is occhiette, the shape, I'm not so sure, pasta shells, so that it also scoops out part of the sauce. So some little green from my parsley, and then here is where I would grate over some Parmesan, which I don't have, and then now we can give this a taste. The moment of truth. So I'm trying to get everything. Looks pretty hot. Wow. It's so delicious. It's so hearty, so warming. Just the perfect way to enjoy oxtail. And I beseech you, if you can get cheese, please do. The times I've made this with cheese, as in I've grated over the cheese, takes the creaminess to 100. It's just absolutely delicious. And there you have it, a very simple and delicious oxtail ragu. It's not a must to serve it with pasta. Maybe you can serve it with some creamy mashed potatoes, some green mokimo, some risotto, rice. I'm not here to yak your yam. Anything that you feel that can accompany this will work so well together. Even chapati. Actually, let me just go back. Whenever I make such a ragu and I serve with chapati, oh my word, orgasmic is the word. It's absolutely delicious. I sure hope you try the recipe. If you don't have the pressure cooker, I've let you know the alternatives, and also you can check the link in the description box to my blog tunapika.com, where I'll have the breakdown of the recipe and I'll give you the substitutions for if you're using a stovetop instead of a pressure cooker. Otherwise, from me, Gateri, kwaheri, asante sana. Wow.